All right, welcome back to Lockdown Sports. Spain won, Italy nil. Probably the biggest night of the Euro so far. And I hope, Sad, you didn't fall asleep. I hope everyone that's watching didn't fall asleep. I know Jono did, but that's a given these days. He's not exactly locked in. But Spain beats Italy 1 goal to nil. I want to say convincing fashion, but I don't know if that's totally the case if it's going to be an own goal. But
Mm.
uh, who was your man of the match, Saj?
Look, if it wasn't for the own goal, I would have definitely said Donnarumma, because he kept Italy in the game. But I think because of it, I'm probably have to give it to Nico Williams Jr. He is the
Mm.
biggest threat on the wings, right? I think both the wings were equally as threatening for Spain,
Yeah,
but Nico was definitely producing the more options, the more opportunities. So if I would be giving a man of the match, it'd be definitely to him.
yeah, it's a weird thing. I mean, you don't
Mm.
have to. You can still give a man of the match to the losing side. Donnarumma, I guess we can get into it now. Let's
Yeah,
see how many he saved because it felt like quite a lot. It felt
yeah,
like
well,
quite a lot. Eight saves,
it definitely was. Yeah,
zero point 0.9 on the XG charts. It's the sort of performance that at an international level, we know Donnarumma to do this every now and
mm.
then. Basically won them the last Euros, two penalty shootout wins in the semis and the final, which is quite obscene. To be
Mm.
totally honest, I think that had a lot to do with Jorginho getting wherever he ranked in the Ballon d'Or, which was disgusting in my opinion. But that's for another day. What
Yeah,
do you think about the whole game though? Because the second half, as much as I'm seeing everyone saying Spain dominated, but I felt like they let go of the rope a little bit
yeah,
after the goal went in.
I would have to agree. I think the scoreline doesn't tell this tale of the story because you're right. Spain would. I agree with you. Dominance is not the right word. They were definitely the better team here, but they didn't put their chances away, and so it always left the door open. So Italy had their moments in the game. They did very well in the first half to break up the flow of the game because Spain did have
Mm,
these periods of the ball and then they'd just make a foul or they'd get the ball and they'd concede a foul, they'd trip over something like that. They did really well to make sure that when they had the ball they did well, but you're right. The second the goal was scored, it was a bit more sustained pressure from the Italians, but it just looked like Spain always had an answer. There's no real clear threat on that Italian team forward going forward. So yeah, it's a weird one where I definitely want to give Spain their props for being the better side, but dominant's
mm.
not the right word for sure.
Yeah, like I think the passing play was brilliant. Getting out of the
Mm.
press, I think it was very good. You saw Jorginho subbed off nice and early,
Yeah.
because this is a real man's game today. This is a real man's game today.
Yeah.
And there's no penalties to save you. But what I didn't like was the last 25-30 minutes from Spain, where
Mm.
exactly what you said. There were opportunities to kill this game.
Yeah.
And I think it was me, Jono, and Michael on the live stream for the Spain game earlier in the
Yeah.
tournament against Croatia. And we were sort of posing this new Spain team to be a much better version at being clinical and being more direct than the
Mm.
old teams. They have proper wingers now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, look at the threats that they have. Yamal and Nico are doing so well. And because the thing is, these guys are unique in the sense that they're quick, but they're also very good on the ball. So usually they've never had a combination of the two. And so
Hmm.
we're seeing some really good chances being created, and they can't put it away. And yeah, they're scoring these like spectacular goals, but they can't put the easy tap-ins away, which is crazy to
There was no need for that Adama Traore sneak diss there about
me.
players that are fast and bad with their decision making because honestly, in the last 20 minutes, I feel like Adama Traore would have done something. He would have done something.
I mean, look, if you even look at the last 5 minutes when Jose Perez came in, and boy, he was effective, right? I mean, he was getting chance after chance. It was
Yeah.
crazy, and like, he should have put at least one of those away. You got to give some credit there
Yeah.
back again to Donnarumma, but
Mm,
these were some pretty good chances, mate. And you're making
yeah.
Jose Perez look like he's some beast. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, he had Ferran open at the back post as well for one of them, which was
Yeah,
like really odd that he didn't just roll it across. But look,
nah, he's
we
glory
talked about it
hunting there.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Uh, let me see if he's a free agent because because that's
Oh,
how it feels like.
100%. That was a glory hunt. He knew he only had 5 minutes. That
Yeah.
might be the only 5 minutes he gets all Euros. Now he was never passing that.
Let's see. Let's see how it goes for the rest of the tournament. And the other thing I guess we talked about yesterday
Mm,
was players getting yellow cards in both games. And
yeah,
I've just checked. I'm fairly sure it is still the 2 yellow cards gets you a 1 game ban this early on in
yeah.
the tournament. Rodri has gotten it,
That's what I was
but
just about. Yeah.
you've won both games. So what lineup are they sort of putting out for that Albania game? Just is it just a mess around, find out sort of game?
I mean, I guess so. I mean, what else? What other options do you have? I actually don't know what other CDM Spain has brought along with them for the tournament, but
Let's have a look then. Let's have a look
yeah,
at where they'll probably go because this is where, we saw Rodri actually go down in the start of the second half as well.
yeah,
I feel like if Rodri does go out of this team, I don't know what the answer is. But off the bench, Mikel Merino was the midfielder subbed on for Fabian Ruiz. So you've got
mm,
him. Apart from that, in terms of defensive midfielders, Zubimendi, I think between those two, and I think they're both from Sociedad. I
yeah,
think that's where probably their options will be. And to be frankly honest, I don't know too much about them. Mikel Marino's obviously been at Dortmund and
yeah,
Newcastle as a kid, but he's a totally different player now.
yeah,
And he's been in the squad at least for the last couple of years. And I think he would be the natural defensive midfielder.
yeah.
Again, today, I was so impressed with Pedri, Fabian
Mm,
Ruiz. And dude, it was so refreshing watching Spain after the England game because in the England game today, I don't know if you watched, but they were just unable to like turn on the ball,
yeah, right.
unable to like just the typical performance
Yeah,
from an English midfield. And Gallagher, Declan Rice, not really up to it. Bellingham didn't really get involved anywhere near as much as he did in
mm,
the first game. And then you see these guys. Doesn't matter if it's the fullback, the midfielder, the winger, the striker, the willingness to get on the ball and the composure in how they play the ball, man. This is alongside Brazil. Would you say the most composed teams on the ball? Like who else is up there?
right. I don't know what they're putting in the water up there in Spain because it's not just this one generation. They've produced generations of midfielders who just like look like
Mm,
the ball sticks to their feet and it doesn't matter who's around them. And like we're seeing, like we saw Busquets do this for a long time as a CDM, and all of a sudden it's just
mm,
like, okay, he's retired, and you just slot in Rodri, and he's just as world class.
mm.
Probably okay, maybe not just as world class, but he's definitely world
Yeah,
class.
we're not
So,
doing that today. We're not doing that.
but yeah, I'm just thinking some of the other teams. Maybe you can potentially say Germany with the way they're going about things at the moment. Gundogan and Musiala as a midfield pair, they look extremely
Mm,
well, like working really
mm.
well
That's a
together.
good shout.
And yeah, and for them, I think it's also the interplay between just those two players where that's the extra dimension you get in that midfield. But
Mm,
they're probably the only other team I'm seeing in this Euros where that midfield is so bloody good and probably controlling the game. And
mm.
that's why these three teams are always dominant in world football, right? Their midfield
Yeah.
is always packed. Their midfield is always world class, really.
Yeah, I guess where Spain goes the extra mile is obviously the back line being so composed
Mm,
on the ball. That probably is why you see
yeah,
them obviously get so many passes, so much possession, and Laporte. It's been so long. Laporte. How are we pronouncing his name
yeah.
today? Okay, let's go with
I
Laporte.
thought it was Aymeric Laporte. Yeah, but sure.
Okay, let's see. Let's see.
Go with
It's
whatever,
been a
mate.
while. It's been a while.
Yeah.
When you go to Saudi Arabia, I forget about you for like a minute. It's going to take some time, but he
Yeah,
he is the prototypical passing center back,
yeah.
um, and really one of the first ones. Obviously, John Stones and
Mm,
him were probably in that mold for Pep, and he just slots back in today like it's nothing. And
yeah.
the only time because the quality is so varying. I don't know when he's actually going to be tested because against Croatia he didn't play. Today, obviously, Skamaka is a tough physical matchup, but
Mm,
they dominate the game so much that the guys that could hurt them, they don't even come up against them physically that often in a game. So it's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And I think that's where it goes to show, like, it's like Italy didn't make use of the time they had on the board because it felt rushed. I don't know if you saw that, but like every time an
Mm.
attack happened, it felt extremely rushed. It felt like they were just going kind of balls to the wall and just trying to get some sort of chance. And in that rush of creating something, often we'd see some poor decision making. I saw a backheel pass from Skameka, which I was just like, you're facing goal. You might as well just hold
Mm.
the ball or take the shot. And I don't know. I think yeah, I think they just felt really rushed. I think they were trying to make adjustments against what they did in
Mm.
Albania, where, they almost took too much time and did make use of their chances. And then we're seeing the opposite issue now. So it's really weird with Italy. I'm keen to see what they do against Croatia because they need to find a balance to ensure that they, guarantee themselves a spot through to the next stage.
Yeah, we'll get into that matchup very shortly. But like you
Yeah,
said, with the Spain team, and it was one of the few things I realized after watching us with Jose Mourinho at Man United and
yeah,
Pep with City. I almost forgot you could have creative midfielders. Like I thought you were only allowed one, like
yeah,
it was some sort of ration. But as you can see, there's like two or three guys that can pop into midfield here. Rodri
yeah,
himself is very creative.
yes,
The flip side of that, Saj, is what you give up. As
yeah,
good as these guys are at winning the ball back, they're not good individual defenders.
mm,
So I feel like a team like Musiala and Wirtz at
mm,
Germany, if they run 1v1 in these spaces, if they start creating that havoc, then
mm,
you'll see the worst out of this Spain team.
yeah. No, I agree.
Who,
That. Sorry, do you want to go on?
who do you think, like, which teams do you think Spain is going to, like, absolutely struggle against?
I think this. Okay, there's a few that I think is a little bit of a shout. So I agree,
Mm.
Germany definitely. But if I were to go a little bit rogue, I would also say the likes of potentially Portugal or even Turkey at the moment. I know that's a really
Why
weird
is
one, but
that?
like
Why is that?
I, because it's the way they play as well. They're a team of individual talents, so they run at you like individual talents. But then when they defend as a unit. So, and
Mm.
we kind of saw that with the last game where it was kind of like Arda kind of doing his thing, and they gave him permission to do that. And sometimes just
Right.
having that individual threat to draw everyone in, and then you can spray the ball out, it makes sense. Whereas, for example, this Italy team, I don't think there was one person drawing pressure. It was like everyone kind of, all right, you have your moment and see what you can cook. Oh, we're not cooking on the right side. Let's try the left side. It's really odd. I don't. There was no structured attack from Italy today, and I think that really cost them. Whereas
Mm.
I can see these like I said, like from Portugal, maybe even Portugal and Turkey, they have players that can run at you, and if you run at them for the first 20 minutes, naturally your team will make the adjustment to shift to that person, and the whole game opens up. So this is why I think those side of teams can hurt Spain because they defend as a structure, they defend as a team, and if you can break that structure, then you might start seeing chances you would normally not see.
Yeah. And you talk about that like individual like quality.
Yeah.
Chiesa is the only guy, and
Mm.
he was off it today, I would
Yeah.
say. And going back to the last Euros, you had Insigne
Mm.
there on the left. It was different. You had a double threat, and then you had Spinazzola, who was playing out of his mind at left back. And everyone's been talking about Demarco this season, right?
Mm.
At Inter, great left back by all means. But in this tournament, we're not seeing it. That first game, obviously, the throw in leads to the Albania goal in the first
Mm.
minute. And today, I feel like he was the outball. They weren't
Yeah.
marking him because
Yeah.
Yamal was not tracking back.
Yeah.
And to not take advantage of the things an opposition gives you, that's the one thing that frustrates me
Mm.
because it it, it almost tells me you have like very poor match awareness, you know. They're
Yeah.
giving you certain things. Sometimes you
Yeah.
take them, or sometimes you do have to force whatever your image is. But when it's that simple, just an outboard to the fullback, I don't know why we didn't see we should be talking about today and be like, wow, DeMarco took advantage of all that space in the second half, put in a
Mm,
few balls. Skamaka, Chiesa, all these guys are getting on the end of crosses. They're getting cutbacks. That's the performance we could be talking about today. But
yeah,
it's a 1-0 Spain win. Spain tops the group now.
yeah,
Automatic. Yeah, should be
yeah.
nearly automatically. And Italy, Croatia, man. Let's talk about it because Croatia's been ass, ass.
Yeah.
Uh, how do you see this one playing out? Game three,
Uh,
sudden death, pretty much.
look, I really it all because I think Spain showed the mold for how to just run through Croatia, and
Mm,
it's also all about making like Luka Modric work as hard as possible because that's really the flow of that midfield, the flow of that team. So you just got to make him do some circles. So I think Italy should be running through with it, and like because they have the better team, they have the better midfield, they should be able to control the game. But
ah,
I don't know. It looks weird. Even Croatia last game looked like when they were desperate for a goal, they'll find it, and because they look like they were, it's just like
mm,
they have this tendency to just completely switch off, and that's when they score, like concede this ridiculous goal. The fact that they conceded that 95th goal was really annoying because they should have prevented anything like that.
mm.
So I always like to think that the team that's like desperate is more likely the team that will like do more things to get the win. And look, I haven't seen any desperation out of this Italy team in both of these games so far, or not enough at least. So for me, that's why I think I can see Croatia getting a win or getting like a 1-0 and then scraping through. But I don't know. I don't trust either of these teams. So it's so hard to give a prediction.
Yeah. Literally what you said there. I feel like both defenses nullify the attacks
Mm,
so like easily.
yeah,
Both teams lack a bit of quality up top. All the old heads that made Croatia sustainable up top, Perisic is not the same. Mandzukic is
yeah,
not there.
yeah,
Uh, Kramaric is there, but he was not really playing before. It was more Rebic that
yeah.
was sort of part of that front line. And now you're seeing a midfield without Rakitic, a
Mm,
midfield that is just a little bit different. And then it's not the same. It's not the
yeah,
same at all. The one thing they do have is a pretty decent defense. I would say a backline. You've got Guardiola at centre back, left back sometimes, and the rest of that back line is decent enough. I feel is at least physically because that's what the matchup seems to be
yeah,
about against Skamaka right now.
yeah. No, I agree. I didn't. They seem like they're solid enough. They've just had brain fades every single time they've conceded. No, maybe not every single time. The two Albania goals, it was more brain fades. It was more mistakes as opposed to
Yeah.
being beaten. Whereas Spain, they genuinely just got beaten. And like, fair
Mm.
enough. Spain's a very good team. We're seeing that today. We saw that last time. So that's valid. But I'm just thinking about what I'm seeing offensively from Italy. Surely they can handle that sort of thing. It's not like they're particularly rapid. Well, Chiesa is not using his pace for what he usually does for Juventus or what he does for Italy before. So it's if he continues to play the way he's playing, then I think they should be fine to handle that. But I don't know, man. You never know with these games. Everything goes rogue every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's it's as close to a 50-50 right now as I would say. Let's
I
see
agree.
what the market is saying. Italy are slightly strong favorites, slightly.
Slightly
But
stronger favorites.
yeah, dude, it's 7:30. They are
Yeah.
they are decent favorites. They are
Yeah.
decent favorites. How about that?
Okay.
And that obviously is for the second spot. Spain now by winning the group. It's interesting because some teams that win the group play a second team.
Mm.
Some teams have been allocated the six third team spots.
Yeah.
So Spain's got the easier third team spot. So it could literally be one of four group opponents
Yeah.
that they get. So it's a really strange format. I don't know how I feel about it, to be totally honest. We saw Portugal barely win a game in the group
Yeah.
stage and then win the Euros, which is really, really not good. Not good for our sport. How did
Was
you
it
feel about that one?
It wasn't just the group stage. It was every game. Every game went to
I
extra time. I think it
know.
was just no. Every game did go to extra time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be fair, it just goes to show with international football, not the best team doesn't necessarily always win. It's just the people who make use of the opportunity. We could have saw that
Mm,
today. Honestly, like I said, like Italy had so many chances and Spain did not kill this game. We could have saw any outcome. But it's the wonderful thing about international football. You don't necessarily
mm.
the expected outcome is never usually the case.
What I thought was really risky at the end of
Mm,
today
mm,
was Donnarumma going forward,
mm.
because if let's say they conceded another one, they lose today, they're on 3 points. They
Yeah,
lose to Croatia on uh, whenever it is in a few days' time,
yeah,
and then they finish the group on 3 points, right?
yeah,
Then goal difference becomes an actual factor. It's really
yeah,
hard to qualify with only 3 points. Very few teams have done it. I think it was like 2 out of 8 from the
yeah,
last two tournaments. So based on that, I did not understand why they sent him up. And I wouldn't say he's much of a lob threat. He is massive, but
mm,
I thought that was really risky. And I'm curious to see how other teams sort of play that scenario out, because there is such a good chance at qualifying compared
yeah.
to the World Cup.
I think I might disagree with you that purely because of scoreline for Croatia Spain, because you know they're 3 goals behind already.
Mm,
So you kind of have not luxury, but you can afford to take a risk on it. And what are they going to lose? Because either they draw the game or they just lose the game. Sure, you lose by an extra goal, but you're still up. And I'm sure Italy backs themselves to go against Croatia and get a result. Because at
mm,
that point, like you said, it's hard to go through with just 3 points. But that fate is up to you. You can go
true.
to Croatia and make a difference. So I didn't mind the decision. I thought it made sense at the time because the guy is massive, man. He's like
Yeah.
7 foot.
Do do you
I'm sure he's
feel
nothing.
like, because I've seen so many instances of this sort of happen where, like,
Yeah.
sometimes the player wants to go, but the
Mm.
manager doesn't let him. And then
Yeah.
sometimes the manager wants him to go, but the player doesn't want to,
Yeah.
because he just thinks it'll be useless. Like,
Yeah.
where do you stand on those sort of things? Do you think they should be discussed beforehand, or is it an in the moment like sort of decision?
I think it's an in the moment sort of decision. Isn't it? How do you prepare for this? It's like because I think it does depend on what's happened in the game. Because if you have no chance of scoring, then what's the point? You might as well set up shop and try to concede as many goals, like you said, because goal
Mm,
difference is matter. But like in
mm,
a game like this where Italy did have chances, it doesn't hurt to have an extra body up. And even at the very least, if that's just drawing one of the defenders away to him and leaving one of the more outfield players to be a little bit more open. So I think it depends how you go in the game. I think it should be more up to the keeper than the manager because they're in the game. They should know what's happening a little bit more. As much as a manager is obviously trained for this sort of stuff, they're an observer and whatnot. I think as the keeper, you would know. You would kind of feel like, okay, this is my opportunity to go up and see if I can get something
mm.
here. And if you're really not that confident, then there's no point being up there in the first place. So just stay back.
Yeah. I guess that's what I was saying. Like, you should probably have an idea of, can this guy actually go forward for me if I need
Yeah,
to? Because look, 99.5% of the time, it doesn't work. It's
yeah,
just about taking the most volatile risk.
yeah.
And I guess the main thing you'd probably ask the referee, is this the last play? And I don't know how lenient and how honest referees are at the top level at telling you things like that.
Well,
But
if you ask, you
that
get a
would
yellow card,
probably,
right?
huh?
If you ask, you get a
Maybe,
yellow card,
maybe,
right? I think
maybe.
that's the rules,
Oh,
isn't it?
dude, literally, what we were talking about yesterday,
Yeah,
center back for, was it Italy? Oh no, it was Spain.
yeah,
Lenormand.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
They warned him that he was on a yellow card, and not to talk and muck around. I'm like, literally have proof the day after we talked about it
yeah,
that they're never going to enforce any sort of strictness on these sort of
yeah.
rules.
After I saw that, I realized my take on the finals was wrong. They're probably gonna stop
Yeah.
it at the knockouts. just to be a little bit more lenient. We'll see.
Dude, we have jerseys to sell. We have sponsorship deals that need to be reimbursed. There is
Yeah,
so much money involved in this thing that what you were basically saying about VAR yesterday, how
yeah,
I don't want to see it too much because it kills the flow of the game. That
yeah,
this is all part of the entertainment, right? Keeping the
yeah,
best players in the game.
yeah,
So I wish, I almost wish we were closer to the NBA where you could talk a bit more. And even
yeah,
in the NBA, it's scrutinized now a lot, like the random
yeah,
technicals.
yeah.
Do you think NBA has a more lenient view than Prem?
Ah, depends which ref are you talking about. Some of them are a little bit,
Scotty, Scotty Foster.
yeah, man. I think some of them don't like to be talked to at all. I mean, you see stuff like Tatum bouncing a ball and getting attacked for that. Like,
Mm,
it really depends. I think there's more lenience in football. Maybe not for this particular tournament because we're seeing those
mm,
like sort of things where if you talk to the ref, then yeah, you might get carded depending on the situation. But
mm.
usually you can get away with a lot more because I've always felt as long as you're like respectful and not crowding the ref, usually they're reciprocal. It's typically the case. It's just recently, these guys are like, if someone fouls, you crowd the ref and then be like, you get a circle around the ref and say, no, you've made the wrong decisions. If
I
Italian, you add these ones.
I
It's never good.
I miss the prayer circles around the referee. Dude, they were genuinely so entertaining because
Exactly,
you
man.
literally saw someone make a decision. And do you really think like he's going to change his mind if you run at
I
him?
know. The best part is when like the penalty, it's like a penalty and it's so obvious, like you've been chopped, and all the players like, well, what do you mean? Like you just saw he didn't get chopped, he just fell to the
It's-
ground. It's the
But
funniest thing, bro. I don't know what to argue.
there was a couple that Casemiro gave away, and then he just got up smiling and he's like, no, no.
Yeah, yeah,
They've they've got VAR.
yeah,
Some of these stadiums have a screen, a big screen where you can
yeah,
watch it as well.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Mate,
and that, yeah,
some of these people should be acting because it's like me no no way I shouldn't do anything it's they should be actors, bro. It's so funny.
yeah. No, I was gonna say the stadium earlier today
Yeah,
with the England game, actually.
yeah.
I have a feeling it was a closed off roof, and they actually had that NBA style um, middle screen above the like that
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
box sort of screen
yeah,
that everyone can sort of look at while the game's
yeah.
going on. So I don't know if I was like seeing shit at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., but I think do you like those sort of indoor stadiums, or do you think it kills like the traditional vibe a bit too much?
uh if it's like too out of the way, then yeah, because like the fun, it's like you want to be actually watching the game and not a screen. And like
Mm,
usually when it comes to like football, it just shows up the score, and then only for replays it will show it, which again brings back all the attention to watching the game. Whereas in the
exactly.
NBA, I guess when you're in the nosebleeds and stuff, and you don't have the best view of the game, at least you can watch the game on this
I
massive
don't
screen.
plan on being in the nosebleed, Sach.
Hey, listen,
I don't
listen.
plan
Not
on
all
being in
of
the
us,
nosebleed.
not all of us can afford the sort of bread that you have. But yeah, if you're up there, then you don't get the best view of the game. But in a football stadium, I feel like that's never the case. Usually, you have a decent view of the game, no matter where
Mm,
you are. At least that's my experience anyway. So I wouldn't personally like to see that because I
yeah.
just think it takes away the actual experience of being there, watching football. I don't think like
Mm.
being like taking pictures in a stadium ever does justice to what you actually see. The atmosphere is always a lot more different. So yeah, me personally, I don't think I'd like to see that sort of stuff.
Yeah, what you were saying there about how like football you can sit pretty much anyway, have a good view, and
Mm,
it's funny now seeing Inter Miami try and go for that courtside
yeah,
vibe
yeah,
when being that low is probably the only place where I'm like, yo, what's happening here?
yeah, exactly.
What's happening here?
Yeah,
You can't see that Sergio Busquets to Jordi Alba diagonal anywhere near as cleanly if you're at ground level. You need a bit of elevation to see what Sergio sees
yeah,
with his eyes. I don't know if that is going to be sustainable because celebrities come and go, and I just don't know if like that culture will be like everywhere, that people will just be courtside.
Yeah, I don't think they will continue that because like you said, the view's not going to be amazing. But I guess because you're closer to the players and you can actually talk to them, maybe they will. And like
Yeah.
those seats don't just mean view; they mean status. So maybe people just keep buying just to be like, hey,
All
look at
right,
me,
all right.
man. I'm somewhat important. I am him, sort of situation. But I
You're
don't know.
talking to me.
As a
You're talking to me.
yeah, yeah. But, I mean, me personally, I don't think I'd ever buy those seats. They would never be worth it for me. But
Yeah.
I'm also content being a relatively anonymous.
Yeah, yeah. I don't mind my cheeky live streams
Mm.
from cheeky websites that we won't name, but it is what it is. Anyways, there you have it, fellas. 30 minutes on Spain versus Italy. Today's Euros have been entertaining. I was happy with this game. I was happy with the England game. Um, the England game was boring, but
Yeah.
when you don't play my boy Kobe Mainu, and when my boy Marcus Rashford is in Miami right now,
Yep.
healing or whatever you want to call it, this is fun. This is
Yeah.
real fun watching them muck around and not find out how to win games. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, no. England is painful to watch. It's it's a happy and sad. I agree with you. These guys done my Man United boys dirty, but nah, screw England, man.
Yeah, easy as. All good. Stay tuned for more, fellas. We'll be back tomorrow with the blockbuster France versus Netherlands. Stay tuned, stay locked in, subscribe for more. Ciao.
See ya.